Welcome to the NBA Triple Double Show powered by SportsMemo. I'm your host, Ronald Cabang, also known as UCapper on SportsMemo.com and on Twitter at U_Capper. We're going to be breaking down three solid games today on the big slate: Hawks, Knicks, Wizards, Bulls, and Celtics and Suns. Before we get into that, though, I do want to talk about some promos. I believe there's a couple $2 Tuesday cappers still available. I was able to take care of business yesterday with the $2 Tuesday. I had the Cavs yesterday. So shout out to those who picked up the $2 Tuesday play and cashed with me. I believe Moneyline Matt and I think it's just Moneyline Matt that's left with the $2 Tuesday play. And then also there's a special promo code for myself and Moneyline Matt here, Hoops39. It's a 7-day NBA package for either myself or Moneyline Matt for just $39. So head over to the website, sportsmemo.com, after the show to catch some of those deals. And also check every day, basically, because we always have deals going on. And they have these little pop-ups that tell you, what's going on the website, what type of deals we got going on. So make sure you head over there. Also, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button before you go as well. It helps our show continue to grow because it's been one of the faster growing shows here on sportsmemo.com. So yeah, man, just hitting the like and subscribe button takes a half second, but helps us, in the long run. With that said, let's get Matt in here. Matt, oh man, we've been talking about some losing days prior to the previous show, and I'm glad I was able to take care of business yesterday with the $2 Tuesday play, and also the two college basketball plays I had on the premium side as well hit. So
nice.
Much needed 3-0 day. Hopefully this is like a sign of things to come. Just kind of going in the getting a good winning streak going on here. How's your everything going with you?
Yeah, so before we even get going, if you are watching the show right now, would love to see some of your best bets in the comments because to answer your question, Ron, this week I've been picking like shit. I'll be completely honest with you. I'm like 2-5 this week, maybe even 2-6. Has not been good at all. Just been, I've had some really good spots where I'm getting some great closing line value, maybe 2 points, 2.5 points in some spots, and just not cashing, and, even when you get that good closing line value and you think you made that good pick, sometimes it still does not go your way. Luckily I did go 10-0-1 in the NFL last week. I went undefeated in the NFL, which was huge. So my $2 Tuesday pick is still available. That's an NFL play. Starting to see the NFL very good at this point in the season. Already saw some lines that I really like early on this week. But more importantly, I am ready to bounce back in the NBA, break down this card. I think there's some good spots once again. One thing I do got to say is shout out to people in the comment section again last show. We were all on the Suns, man, and they got spanked. They got absolutely spanked. So shout out to people in the comment section picking the Mavs. We're not always right, so we do appreciate your comments and suggestions as well.
Yeah, and that also brings us to another point that the all access packages are usually the way to go, just because we touch on so many other sports. Like yesterday, the 2-0 and the college basketball. I think I hit 5 of my last 6. I don't bet college basketball too often, but when I do, I mean, they've been pretty well so far this season. So I know this is an NBA show, and we want to make sure we get back on track here on the show because we were on a good run for quite a while. Yeah. And maybe the last couple shows we haven't done too well, but we're gonna get back on track. And the big focus is the big picture, not the little small, two shows or 1 week or whatever it is. The big picture is the full season, and we want to keep cashing here. So let's get back into the NBA here. Hawks and Knicks is the first game. Hawks 13-11 on the season. They are coming off a home loss to the Thunder. They should be pretty rested though. This is only their third game in 6 nights. Knicks 11-13 on the season. They're coming off a nice double-digit win over the Cavs on Sunday. I think the Knicks limited the Cavs to like 81 points. This is their third game in 5 nights, but they haven't had to travel. This is their 4th home game in a row, so no travel fatigue or anything on that side. From an injury perspective, from what I've seen, Knicks are fairly healthy. No one of note to really worry about on the injury report. On the Hawks side, John Collins and DeAndre Hunter are out, and those two are consistent starters for these guys. But Bogdanovich is back, and I think this is his 3rd game back. So what are your looks on this one?
Yeah, so for me, like in this game, the Atlanta Hawks are traveling on the road to face off against the New York Knicks, and this is a spot where I think this Hawks team is looking to get right against their rival again in the New York Knicks in Madison Square Garden. And this is a spot actually where earlier this season the Atlanta Hawks beat the New York Knicks in New York. And right now with the Atlanta Hawks, it appears like there could be a little bit of trouble in paradise with Trae Young and head coach Nate McMillan. In that game against the Denver Nuggets, he actually sat out or just decided to skip it. I'm not exactly sure what happened. They didn't really dive into it too hard, but it was due to potentially an argument with head coach Nate McMillan and Trae Young. And anytime your team leader and the head coach are rifting like that, I don't know exactly what good comes from that. So because of that, I actually am siding with the New York Knicks here at -2. The Knicks are definitely a tougher team to side with, because they're so inconsistent. But the Atlanta Hawks aren't all that different. And when you have guys like John Collins and DeAndre Hunter missing in this game, I think that's huge in terms of defensive matchups for guys like RJ Barrett and Julius Randle. In the first matchup, when these two teams met and the Atlanta Hawks won on the road, Julius Randle had a terrible game. He had 14 points. He shot 4 for 12 from the field. And when you don't have John Collins or DeAndre Hunter, I expect a much bigger game from someone like Julius Randle. And guys like RJ Barrett are that much more prone to have a good game. When, DeAndre Hunter is a very long defender. He's a lengthy defender. He's a guy who, when he has a hand up in your face, it just makes things that much more difficult, So for me, I do like the Knicks in this spot. This is a game that I think both teams get up for here. I think we see a lot of the stars play better. Like someone I'm definitely keeping an eye on is Julius Randle. I like him in this matchup, especially with Mitchell Robinson back and rocking that 5 pretty strong. And then on the other side, someone I'm definitely going to be looking at is Trae Young. Jalen Brunson is one of the worst defending guards throughout the NBA. So I think Trae Young is worth a look at as well. But for a side in this game, I'm going to be with the Knicks here at -2.
All right, well, we're gonna have to discuss this one because I'm seeing the other way. I haven't played this yet, or anything like that. But the way that I'm looking is actually towards the Hawks here. I mean, I think it's just interesting to note that both two key starters, Collins and Hunter, are out, and the Knicks are only favored by 1.5 points. And I think it could be a few things here, right? This is going to be Bogdanovic's third game. He played really good in that second game off coming back too. I think he had like 5 threes the other game on Monday against the Thunder. That was a loss for the team, but overall, he's playing. I feel like he's going to just only get better as time goes on, as he gets a little bit healthier. And then also, one thing that was worrisome about the Hawks was their thin bench and where the offense is going to come from the bench. And with Bogdanovich back there, I think that kind of answers that question. But also with these injuries, it's given AJ Griffin, Jalen Johnson, and even Jarrett Culver some time to get acclimated with being able to play in actual games instead of just practice. And that's kind of helped them as well, because the last few games, those 3 guys in the rotation have been playing pretty well, and they're not big name guys, right? They're not guys who, demand the ball. They do all the little things, play defense, get the rebounds, and do the little things that is needed to win games. That kind of balances out the lineups that the Hawks have here. And offensively, with that new rotation, they have looked better. And I think that continues here against a weak defensive squad. I know I just talked about the Knicks coming off of a big win over the Cavs, limited the Cavs to 81 points. And that was surprising to me because they were, like I said, they were probably one of the worst defensive teams as far as defensive rating on the season. So what I did was I looked at their stats. How many times have the Knicks limited an opponent to under 100 points? That literally is the only game so far this season. And so when I looked even further, I looked at the, how many points they've limited teams to, 110 or less. They tend to struggle in the game following after that. 2-5 straight up, 1-5-1 against the spread following games where they limited teams to 110 or less, and averaging just 108 points per game and allowing 117 points per game in that spot. So defensively, it seems like, that was kind of a one-off situation here. I think the total is a bit too high too, though. Like, 230 is a pretty high total for NBA games so far this season. Knicks 4-0 to the under when the total is 230 or greater. The Hawks have gone under in 3 of their last 4 games with a total of 230 or greater. So for me, I'm looking towards the under. I'm leaning towards the under and also towards the Hawks in this one. I expect a pretty big letdown from the Knicks after a pretty big win over the Cavs on this one. Any thoughts on the total at all, Matt?
Yeah, I definitely like that underlook. I think for these two teams, a 232.5 is really high. These two teams don't run at an extremely fast pace or anything along those lines. And I do understand with John Collins out and DeAndre Hunter out, they might think there's going to be a little bit more offense, but that's a pretty high number for this game, I think, as well. And to your point with Bojan Bogdanovic, he is, I don't think people understand how big of a factor he is coming off that bench. He is one of the purest three-point shooters in the NBA. He's someone who can create his own shot, make difficult shots late in the shot clock as well. So he's a huge addition for this Hawks team. And for me personally, I don't know if I'm actually going to have a side bet on the card, but there are definitely some props here in this game that will make my card.
Nice. All right, so next up, Wizards and Bulls. Wizards 11-13 on the season. They're on a 3-game losing streak and have lost 6 of their last 7 games. So they're on a pretty downward spiral here. They've been playing a lot of games on the road lately. This is their 6th road game in their last 8 games. Bulls 9-14 on the season. They've also lost their last 3 games as well. But this is their first game home off a 6-game road trip. From our injury perspective, the Wizards will be without Bradley Beal, DeLon Wright, and Rui Hachimura. Bulls still without Lonzo Ball. Javonte Green is looking doubtful, and Caruso is looking like a true game time decision. I don't think I'll have a play on this one because this one's tough. I see angles on both sides and totals kind of like conflicting, but this is a really good game. I did mention earlier the Bulls are playing their first game off a 6-game road trip, and I tend to fade teams in that spot. So far this season, it's been pretty profitable. Home favorites coming off a road trip of 4 games or more, 4-10 against the spread, and also 10-4 to the over if you're looking towards the total. But they've been home for a couple of days, and the Wizards have had a bad travel situation themselves, right? I think what I mentioned earlier, six of their last 8 games have been on the road. And the Bulls themselves have been good as favorites at home, 3-1 against the spread and 4-0 to the under. So that kind of conflicts there from both the side and the total perspective. And then I looked at the Wizards, how they do as road dogs, specifically with a higher total, because a lot of their totals have been under 220, but a total of 220 or greater, they struggle in that spot as road dogs. 0-4 straight up, 1-3 against the spread, 3-1 to the under as well. But then there's a conflicting side. When Bradley Beal is out, the rest of the squad steps up. They're 4-2 straight up, 5-1 against the spread without Beal in the lineup. So to me, there's just way too many conflicting trends and angles. So I'm going to stay away from this one. And I'm not much of a prop guy, so maybe you have an angle on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I don't have a great angle for this one either because I saw a lot of the same things that you saw. The Bulls coming back home after a long road trip. They've lost 3 in a row, 9-14 on the season. So you would think they want to put their best foot forward here, try and start stringing some wins together so they can get some better playoff positioning going forward. And, when you take a look at the Washington Wizards, it's kind of the same story. They've had a lot of road games as of late. They're 11-13 on the season and have also lost 3 games in a row. Bradley Beal is going to miss this game. And as of late, the injury replacement theory has been absolutely on fire. And I've been on the opposite side of it, unfortunately. Even with the other day, the Pacers and the Warriors, Andrew Nembhard had like 31 points in Tyrese Halliburton's absence. Like, the guy would not miss a single shot. So, I swear to God, it really does hold true with that injury replacement theory. When guys are out, people come in and really step up. So for me, I'm not going to go with a side here. I'm actually going to be, Kyle Kuzma is someone that I'm looking at in this spot, and DeMar DeRozan is someone that I'm looking at in this spot. In must-win situations, in one of those spots where the pace gets a little faster, those are the guys that I like to look to here because DeMar DeRozan not only fills it up in terms of points, he likes to get active in terms of assists, in terms of rebounds, things of that nature. So that's somewhere that I'm going to look at. And when looking at at this total, I actually was kind of thinking a little opposite, Ron. I actually kind of like the over a little bit, just because of your point that Bradley Beal missing. This injury replacement theory and guys coming in and filling that position have been absolutely on fire. And, when you take a look at this Washington Wizards roster, obviously it's tough to fill in for someone like Bradley Beal, but you got guys like Corey Kispert who can come in and he can make some outside shots. You have Will Barton who can come in. He's kind of a spark plug. He can attack the rim. He can get hot from the outside, get some assists going and stuff like that. So I do believe this Wizards team has a good enough bench to come in, fill that role, and still go out and score some points. And that's one thing that I've been trying to keep an eye on is when two teams are in must-win situations and a key player is out, I feel like it has been trending towards the over as of late because those guys fill in and just fill that role and take it to a different level. So if I were to go anywhere in this game, definitely looking at Kyle Kuzma, that would probably be the number one, DeMar DeRozan, and then I lean, this one probably won't make the card either, but I lean the over 227.5.
Yeah, I see Mitch in the comments dropping a lot of props there. What do you think about Porzingis over 2.5 threes? I'm looking at the game logs of Porzingis when Beal is out, and 3-point attempts 6, 6, 8, 10, and 9. So he's getting a lot of threes attempted when Beal is out. And to me, that seems like a good play. I know he's only hit it on 2 of the 5 games without Beal. But the 2 that he did, he hit 4 and 6. So it seems like he'll get the attempts. I mean, if he's probably going to bring Valanciunas out, to bring him out there. So, I mean, that seems like a pretty good prop. What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea because, when you face the Chicago Bulls, you're definitely going to want to try and take Vucevic off of that basket and bring him out to the line so you have more space to create, attack the basket, things like that. And then when you're looking at guys and 3-point numbers, more than anything, it's the opportunity that they're getting. It's going to be the volume. Is that there? Yeah. So if the volume is there, if the opportunity is there, that Vucevic is probably going to give him a little bit of space to take that shot early on as well. So, yeah, I think that's a great look. Again, you can only ask for volume. You can only ask for opportunity. They still have to make the shots. But if that's there, then you're getting plus money. I'd say that's worth it.
Yeah, my bad. I said Valanciunas. I meant Vucevic. Yeah, you're right. But I always get those 2 centers and the V's all mixed up. It's crazy. All right, last game up: Celtics and the Suns. Celtics, man, this is a good game here. Number 1 in the East, number 1 in the West. Even if you don't have a bet in this game, this is probably one to watch for sure. 20-5 on the season. The Celtics are number 1 in the league. On a 2-game winning streak, this is their 3rd game in 4 nights, 3rd game of a 6-game road trip as well. They're traveling from Toronto to Phoenix, so we might see some travel fatigue. And Smart, Tatum, and Brown, they all played heavy minutes in that game against Toronto the other day. I think all of them over 38 minutes, but Horford sat that game out. So he's going to be rested, and he's going to be a big piece of this game tonight. Suns, number 1 in the West, 16-8 on the season, coming off of a loss to the Mavs by 19 points. That was the second leg of back-to-back road games, though, so maybe that had something to do with it. This is their 3rd game in 4 nights as well. From an injury perspective, Robert Williams and Gallinari still out for the Celtics. Brogdon, I believe, is probable, so he should play tonight. Horford sat out last game, so he's going to be in tonight. From the Suns, Cam Johnson and Dwayne Washington are out. Torrey Craig looks like a true game-time decision and announced this morning Chris Paul should be in for this game. He missed a lot of time. I'm wondering if he's going to have a minute restrictions. I haven't seen any note on that tonight, but possibly a minute restriction on Chris Paul. Like I said, man, this is a tough one. Battle between 2 of the best in the West and the East. What do you think about, we talk about the injury replacement theory, Matt, and Chris Paul coming back from injury. Sometimes that kind of affects the chemistry of what is going on with the team, especially when they're, coming back after 14 games, I believe it was. And Chris Paul, obviously the point guard, he's a big part of the offense and how the offense flows. So it's going to be a big shift going from Chris Paul from Cameron Payne to Chris Paul. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. I would have actually probably been maybe more comfortable if Chris Paul was sitting in this game. And I will admit, this is a game that I already have on my card. I grabbed it last night at plus 110. And if I took it at plus 110, I took the Phoenix Suns because that's down to around plus 100 right now. So got a little bit of good closing line value on that one. But with Chris Paul, one thing I will say is he's in and out of the lineup so much that I feel like the Phoenix Suns have potentially become accustomed to it. Mm-hmm. And in addition to that, when looking at Chris Paul, he's just not that guy who you're really depending on for 15, 20 points a game anymore. If anything, he's getting you around 8 to 12 points, and he's filling it up with, 8 to 12 assists on top of that. So with Chris Paul coming back to the lineup, I still do look at it as a boost for the Phoenix Suns, just because he's more so, he's very creative at getting his teammates open looks, open shots, gets going in that pick and roll a little bit more. And I do think it'll also help Devin Booker because it helps Devin Booker to create a little more space and room. And in Chris Paul's absence, DeAndre Ayton has also taken a big step forward. And I think that going forward with the Phoenix Suns, it's going to be Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton. Just because he has become a force. He's really developed that mid-range jump shot on top of that. And I think that's going to be a big factor in this game against the Celtics because, to your point, Al Horford is coming back. He's well rested, sat that last game. But in terms of, a one-on-one matchup, DeAndre Ayton really should handle Al Horford here. DeAndre Ayton is the taller player. He's the bigger player. He has more touch around the basket as well. And if, in fact, he gets that mid-range jumper going, that's when I think the Phoenix Suns are at their most dangerous. And, when looking at this Phoenix Suns team, they got absolutely embarrassed against the Dallas Mavericks in their last matchup in Dallas. And, that Dallas team might just have the Phoenix Suns number. And now they're coming back home to face off against the Boston Celtics. In my eyes, the best team in basketball at this point in time. So it's going to be a tough matchup. It's going to be a great game. But luckily for the Phoenix Suns, they are 7-0 against the spread in bounce-back spots. The Suns are 12-2 at home on the season. To the Celtics, very respectable, 9-3 on the road. Okay, Celtics are first in overall offensive rating to the Suns second in overall offensive rating. But the difference here could be defense. The Celtics are still a little iffy defensively, coming in at 16th. Remember, they're still missing Robert Williams, who I expect their defensive presence and ability to go up once he comes back. But as for the Phoenix Suns, they're 6th in overall defensive rating. And I think this is going to be one of those spots where, the Suns really want to make a statement. They want to bounce back. It reminds me of that situation when the Warriors were coming into town earlier this season and the Suns just went out and beat their ass. So I'm kind of looking at this game like a very similar fashion. The Celtics have been one of those teams who, Jason Tatum playing at an MVP level, Jaylen Brown playing unbelievable basketball. They got guys filling in like Malcolm Brogdon, Derek White, Marcus Smart. They got all those key players. But I just think this is a Suns spot, and we're going to see a really big game out of DeAndre Ayton, Devin Booker. I think they're going to get up for this matchup, play some good defense as well. So I'm going to back the Suns here.
Yeah, I like that look a lot because if you think about how the Suns coming off of an outright loss, they're actually 6-1 straight up, 7-0 against the spread. When after coming off of a loss, so they're really good in this spot here. The one game that they did lose, they lost by 1 point as 2.5 point underdogs. The Suns, they also been great at home as well, 12-2 straight up at the house. But I mean, it's tough because how can you bet against the Celtics right now with how hot they are? It's really one of those situations like both two teams really, I guess, going in the right direction. Both teams are winning spots here for both teams, but oh man, it's so tough to go against the Celtics right now. So I really want to just focus more so on the total, which is going to be the best bet for me on this show. So we could just head over to that part, the best bet section. I'll start that off. It's going to be on the Suns and Celtics game here. I want to focus more on the total than on the side and the importance of Chris Paul coming back. Chris Paul, we know the pace will be slower with the Suns when he's in the lineup versus when he's out. They also have a better defensive efficiency when he's in versus when he's out. And with him coming back, I think it's going to affect the offensive rhythm a little bit. He just handles the ball too much for them not to really have to shift the rhythm offensively from Cameron Payne to Chris Paul. They just play two different styles of point guard. And without Chris Paul in the lineup, here's some numbers here. Suns average 119 points per game and allow 112 points, 12 and a half points per game when Chris Paul is not in the lineup. That's 231 points combined. With Paul in the lineup, Suns average 112 and allow 103 and a half per game. That's 216 points per game combined. So that's about a 15-point gap between when Chris Paul is in the lineup and when he's not in the lineup. The Celtics 9-3 to the under on the road, have gone under in the last 7 games on the road as well. They really have been picking it up defensively since the start of the season. Their last 5 games, 7th in the league in defensive rating versus 15th overall in the season for the overall season. So for me, I'm going to look towards the under in this one. Under 231 or 230 and a half is the current line. So I guess it's going down from open. So I agree with that movement there. And as far as the premium side, I have not placed anything for the premium side yet, but I'm looking at 2 college basketball games and possibly 2 NBA games to make the premium card tonight. Hopefully that will be in there by noon or 1 o'clock Pacific Standard Time for my clients there. With that said, Matt, what's your best bet for today's show? And also, what do you have going on the premium side?
Yeah, right now on the premium side, I have 3 NBA plays loaded at this point in time. After the show, I'm going to go in and write up my analysis. I have 2 UFC plays and I have 2 NFL plays. So definitely looking to get back on the winning track with the NBA tonight. I think we have some better spots here. Definitely there's some player props that I am eyeing. And tonight, my best bet is actually going to be a player prop. It's a player prop I'm sure many people will be on tonight, but it's just one of those spots I felt like I had to ride it. And even if it's a little chalky, I really like it and I think it's a great spot. And this is going to be Trae Young over 27 and a half points against his rival in the New York Knicks. You know, this is going to be a popular play, like I said, but in his career, Trae Young is averaging 27.9 points, 9.2 assists, and 3.4 rebounds against the New York Knicks. This is also a spot Trae Young has hit in his last 3 games of 3 of 4 games against the New York Knicks. And his last game, he missed, shooting only 31% and having 17 points against the Knicks, which really isn't like Trae Young. And to my point earlier, Trae Young and head coach Nate McMillan have had some rifting going on in the locker room. Not exactly sure what's up with that, but it could be because of the addition of DeJounte Murray. Maybe the usage percentage is going off a little bit. So because of that, I think Trae Young is due for a bounce back. Trae Young is someone who takes things very personable and plays better when it's against a rivalry or when his back's against the wall, looking for something to prove, okay? So in addition to that, when looking at this New York Knicks team, you guys have heard me talk about Jalen Brunson before. We've taken advantage of Jalen Brunson numerous times this year because he's one of the worst guarding defenders throughout the entire NBA. You know, Jalen Brunson has a defensive rating of 115.9, actually one of the top 10 worst throughout the entire NBA. So when Trae Young is matched up against a player like that, I think he's going to go out and have a good game. I really do. The Atlanta Hawks are also without John Collins. They're going to be without DeAndre Hunter. So a lot of that usage and expectation to go out and get points is going to be with Trae Young, and it's going to be with DeJounte Murray. So for me, I'm going to go with Trae Young over 27 and a half points here. It's against his rival. He loves going into Madison Square Garden and trying to shush that crowd. I think he does it again tonight. I'm going to go with Trae Young here.
With you on the points there, I was actually just looking at this. What do you think about his assists going under? He hasn't hit the assist prop in 4 straight games against the Knicks dating back to 2021. If you're on his points, you're obviously thinking that he's gonna be more focused on scoring than distributing. I see his number at 9.5, but it's kind of juiced to the under. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I definitely don't mind that. I mean, especially due to the fact that there's no John Collins. You know, John Collins and Trae Young like to run that pick and roll together. He likes to throw that oop to John Collins or get out and fast break with him as well. You know, I think one addition that definitely people need to keep in mind is Bojan Bogdanovic, because he is one of those guys where you can get quick assists to. So I do like it under tonight, but as they begin gelling, as say John Collins comes back, DeAndre Hunter comes back, then I might start trending upward with Trae Young and assists. You know, and again, to your point, DeJounte Murray has somewhat become that assist guy. If DeJounte Murray is having an off game in terms of points, he likes to facilitate a lot more. And especially if Trae Young is getting hot, you know, I do think those two have a lot of chemistry. But, you know, there's just going to be a thing where, like, if Trae Young feels like it's the Hawks team and DeJounte Murray is getting more usage, shots, whatever, he might get a little upset with it. We all have egos, especially in the NBA, stuff like that. But again, with those two, it's tough to differentiate who's going to get the assists on what night. So to your point, I do like that under look. I think it's juiced to the under just for the fact that I think against the Thunder, Trae Young had an assist style game. And in this game, you know, I'm kind of trending towards the point style game. And one last thing, you know, with DeJounte Murray and with Trae Young, I do this all the time in like mini same game parlays and stuff like that. Like if I think Trae Young is going to go off in terms of points, I'll run an alternative over in terms of points, alternative under in terms of assists. Then I'll go over to DeJounte Murray, run under, alternative under points, alternative over assists. So I'll kind of stagger the two based off how I see the game going.
Yeah, and you know, shout out to the chat there. I see a couple of people popping in now. Maurice Walker, Talk Sports with JT. What's up, guys? Mitch, obviously always in here dropping plays. Thoughts on Brogdon points at 13.5? I mean, that does seem kind of low here. But again, you know, we were looking at the under on this total for the full game. So where are the points going to come from? It's probably going to be between DeJounte, Brogdon, and Trae. And just those three guys themselves could hit like 60 to 70 points, 75 points just between the three of those guys. So that seems like 13.5 is kind of low.
Yeah, I agree. And I was answering Dave's question at the bottom of the chat. There's two Bogdanoviches. There's one on the Pistons and there's one on the Hawks. Both foreign white guys. One a little skinnier. Both predominantly hang out and hit the threes. You know. So, but
there's a Bojan and a Bogdan or something like that. So there's a little difference
Bogdan
in
and Brogdon or something.
There's
But Bogdanovic for the Hawks, dude, this guy's a baller. I'm telling you, 13.5 points is low for him, especially when he comes in and runs that second unit. That Hawks second unit kind of sucks. I'm going to be honest, you know, other than Bogdanovic. So you can expect him to come in, take a lot of shots. And he's one of those guys where I'm telling you, like live betting as well. If you see him hit his first or second shot, plug in that live bet because he is an absolute spark plug. He's one of those guys who just needs to see a couple shots go in and it's going to keep going. You know, and to my point, like I was saying before, with Trae Young or DeJounte Murray, very good at facilitating the basketball and putting the basketball in the correct place. You know, there's a big difference if you catch the ball at your knee or you catch it at your chest. You know, you catch it at your chest, you pop it up real quick, bam. And that's what Bogdanovic can do. So to the chat's point, I think that 13.5 is a pretty good look, especially, would you say, his third game back?
Third game back. And he hit 5 out of 10 threes in that game versus the Thunder. So he hit over that total just on threes alone in that game. So yeah, man, I feel like him coming off of the bench, he's literally the only guy that's going to try and score. It's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like when Clarkson was the sixth man for Utah, and Poole sixth man for Warriors. Come off the bench, literally your only job is to score. That's probably him here in this rotation. So yeah, man, I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm not a big prop guy, but man, some of these things that you guys are saying right now just makes way too much sense not to bet it. It's kind of crazy.
I totally agree. And that's a low number as well. The New York Knicks do not have good guarding point guards or shooting guards. So again, you can expect him to fill it up and, you know, great points in the chat. And yeah, the Pistons Bogdanovic has definitely made us some money this year. That dude's been balling as well. So maybe just go with the foreign guys coming off the bench and we'll just ride that and, you know, see what happens.
Yeah, that's it. All right. Well, man, great show today. Broke down the 3 games. Hopefully, our best bets cash for tonight, and also our we get going on the premium side, get our winning streak going here, and get that started. We also, again, guys, Hoops 39 7-day package in the NBA for myself or Moneyline Matt for just $39. Make sure you guys take advantage of that because we're gonna start hitting pretty soon, getting on this winning streak here.
Nice.
Also, I hit the like and subscribe button on the show, right here on the show. It only takes a half second, guys, literally. And we were trying to, continue to grow the show and get more guys in the chat like you guys who've been dropping a lot of plays. So love the chat today. Definitely hope you guys come back, and we'll see you guys on Friday. Till then, good luck with all your bets. Peace.
Peace, y'all.